history for the Fever Rookie.
They say
The Fever Rookie's past. It's said that records are intended to be broken, but no one told Caitlin Clark that she needed to break 62 of them in a single season, including league-wide marks for assists and scoring and Indiana Fever franchise records. Not only did Clark enter the WNBA, but she completely changed it. However, what are these 62 records, and how did she establish them all? Things are being done by Caitlin Clark. Imagine a packed arena with fans on the edge of their seats as Caitlin Clark dishes out her 19th assist of the game. Instead of shooting Mitchell, Caitlin chose to hit the ball. That's right, 19 assists in a single WNBA game is an unprecedented accomplishment. The crowd erupts, teammates rush to embrace her, and suddenly history is made. Guess what? That was just one of 62 records. Before we break it down, please remember to subscribe to the channel. Now, we're going to reveal the incredible story of how one rookie superstar changed the game forever. She's playing really well, shooting the hell out of the ball, and she's making sure she's finding those open players. Clark has some incredible assists tonight. How is that even possible? When Clark joined the WNBA, expectations were extremely high, but no one could have predicted the storm she'd unleash from day one. Remember that 19 assists game? It turns out that Clark's first season was about completely rewriting the record books, not simply about breaking expectations. Caitlin Clark's feats were even more astounding. As for how many 30-point games it takes to set a franchise record, the answer was more than anyone had ever seen. From the first time she set foot on the WNBA court, Clark made it clear that her goal was to dominate in a league that is renowned for its exceptional talent. This is an Iverson cut over 2 screeners, then there's a pin down, then there's a chase, and then there's a double contest all to get this shot. It's not easy work, but Clark's scoring ability stood out like a beacon. She reached her 100th point in just 8 games, faster than any freshman in WNBA history, but she was just getting started. As the season went on, Clark's scoring consistency became almost superhuman. She racked up 30-point games like they were going out of style, setting a new franchise record for the Indiana Fever. It wasn't all individual games at work. There was one player in particular, an encore scoring consultant. In just 10 games, Clark became the fastest player to reach 150 points or more, and her scoring prowess throughout the season was nothing short of historic. She blew past milestones that had stood for years, more than 50 rebounds and more than 50 assists. She reached 200-plus points and 50-plus assists by Game 12, and she scored 300-plus points in just 19 games, more than 100 rebounds, and more than 100 assists. Because Clark could score from wherever on the court, rival teams had to entirely reevaluate their defensive tactics. Pascal's name, impressive as it was not readily noticeable in this run. Defenders began to follow her like glue, making double teams the norm. However, despite all of that attention, Clark continued to find ways to score around my time in school. This defensive focus on Clark created opportunities for her teammates, including players like Aaliyah Boston. Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hull discovered that they had more scoring opportunities and open looks. As the season progressed, Clark's three-point shooting became legendary. She set the rookie record for the most three-pointers made in a season, displaying a range that left the defense stunned. Her presence on the court improved everyone around her, making the Indiana Fever a dangerous offensive threat. With a total of 66 points scored or assists in a single game, Boston recorded her 11th double-double of the season, and Clark made a 3-pounder. However, the most astounding moment was probably when Clark set a new WNBA record for the most points scored or assisted in a single game. She demonstrated that her influence extended far beyond simply putting the ball in the hoop. She was leading an offensive symphony, and the entire league was her audience. If you've watched this far and are enjoying the video, please remember to like, subscribe, and enable all notifications. We appreciate you taking the time to view this film, but let's get back to the action before you accompany her. DTIs can distribute the ball and score herself by slipping to the mid-range and knocking down a lovely bunny, but last but not least, Clark's goals made headlines. Her true magic happened when the ball left her hands. How many assists does it take to shatter a franchise record? How about a league-wide one for Clark? It was a number that left commentators speechless. Remember that 19-assist game we mentioned earlier? It wasn't just a flash in the pan. Clark's ability to set up her teammates became the cornerstone of her debut season. She reached 50 assists in just 8 games, the fastest any rookie had ever hit that mark, but Clark was just warming up as the season progressed. Clark's passing prowess reached new heights. She hit 100 assists in 12 games and 200 assists in 26 games, tying for the fastest in WNBA history. These weren't just empty numbers, they were game changers. She knows how to lay it out on a dime. Court vision is impeccable, and now her teammates are ready to catch the ball. They trust she's gonna get it where it needs to be. But y'all, the favorite part of my game from Caitlin Clark is this behind the back pass. Come on now. I love it. I love it. And that wasn't just one time. She does that on a frequent and drops it right there. Perfect to Aaliyah Boston. So let me just sprinkle in, because you mentioned AB, two of those highlights. I believe were a Clark-Boston connection. Those two have been the second best scoring duo in the league behind Asia Wilson and Jackie Young. And Clark's court vision transformed the Indiana Fever's offense. Aaliyah Boston was the target of accurate passes that resulted in simple buckets in the paint. As Clark continuously found her for open looks, and Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull's three-point shooting percent became extremely high. She benefited greatly from Clark's skill to attract defenders and strike at the ideal time. Exercise that resulted in strike deals strengthened the players and strike at the ideal time. Clark's influence extended beyond individual performances. She became the first rookie in WNBA history to score more than 20 points and dish out more than 10 assists in several games. As the season progressed, Clark's playmaking skills became legendary. She broke the league record for assists in a single game with her incredible 19-assist performance. But even more impressive was her consistency. Game after game, Clark found ways to improve her teammates' performances compared to those at home. This dual-threat capability forced defenses to constantly adjust, creating opportunities for her teammates. The numbers don't fully convey the picture, though. Clark's fans began coming to the arena to see what kind of magic Clark would perform next. Her assist totals didn't just affect individual games, they altered the course of the Fever season. The team's offensive ratings skyrocketed, and Indiana was suddenly in the running for the playoffs. By the end of the season, Clark's ability to create scoring opportunities for her teammates transformed the Fever into one of the league's most dynamic offenses. Perhaps her most remarkable accomplishment was finishing the season with the most assists in a single season in WNBA history, with 337, breaking the record established by Alyssa Thomas last year of 316 in a single season. Clark had previously set the record for the most point-assist double-doubles by a rookie in WNBA history. Outside of Mitchell, Clark has made a name for herself as one of the greatest playmakers of all time. But she's open. What happens when a rookie player accomplishes something that no one in league history ever had? The answer would surprise even the most seasoned WNBA veterans on a warm summer evening in Indiana, with the Fever locked in a close game against the New York Liberty. Clark's passing prowess left the league in awe, but her next accomplishment would completely redefine expectations. The stat line was astounding: 19 points, 13 assists, and 12 rebounds. However, it wasn't just the numbers that impressed, it was the way Caitlin Clark controlled every aspect of the game. She maneuvered through defenders with ease, found teammates with pinpoint passes, and somehow always seemed to be in the right place for crucial rebounds. When the final buzzer sounded, Caitlin Clark had already etched her name in the record books once again, becoming the first rookie in WNBA history to record a triple-double. To put it in context, triple-doubles are an uncommon accomplishment for any player, much less a rookie. Not only was Clark the first rookie in WNBA history to achieve a triple-double, but she was also the first player in Indiana Fever franchise history. However, Clark wasn't satisfied with just one historic performance. She was so good that she did it a second time against the Los Angeles Sparks. Some of the greatest players in WNBA history never managed to accomplish this feat in their entire careers. 24 points. Throughout the season, she had 10 assists and 10 rebounds. She came dangerously near to a triple-double several times, but Clark always pulls it down. This building is aware of what that signifies. The Indiana Fever had to change their entire strategy because of Clark's versatility. With a guy who could score, pass, and rebound at a high level, the club possessed a Swiss Army knife they could use in any circumstance. As the season went on, Clark's all-round dominance became the norm rather than the exception. Her ability to fill every column of the stat sheet, night after night, left fans and analysts frantically trying to figure out how to compare her to the next Stanley. Whether Clark was a triple-double machine, a point guard with the rebounding prowess of a forward, or something else different that the WNBA had never seen before, his influence went much beyond individual games. Clark's near triple-double and triple-double performances became must-watch TV. attracting both casual viewers and basketball purists. Highlights of her most recent feats went viral on social media, extending her reach well beyond WNBA arenas. By the end of the season, Clark lets Rosie guess who Diana is going to be. After finishing the season with an average of 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game, Clark's statistics told the tale of her historic rookie campaign. To put these averages in perspective, these weren't just good numbers. They were elite figures for any player in the league. Throughout the season, Clark was among the league leaders in points and led the league in assists and three-pointers. Her scoring put her in the top echelon of WNBA scorers. Her assists demonstrated that she was one of the game's premier playmakers, and her rebounding stats were impressive for a guard. As Clark's star grew, so did the hopes of a franchise stuck in mediocrity. The CL season averages not only made her stand out from her freshman class, but they also placed her in the conversation with the best WNBA players, regardless of experience. Veterans who had been ruling the league for years suddenly found themselves staring over their shoulders at the rookie who was threatening their status. You brought up the topic of what happens when you bring in a generational talent to a club that hasn't made it to the playoffs in almost 10 years. The Indiana Fever were about to find out, and the result would leave fans speechless. Which teams would I not want to see in the playoffs? With the arrival of Caitlin Elizabeth Clark, everything was about to change. From the moment Clark took the court, the team's energy changed and every Fever game became a must-see. I believe the team had been struggling for years, missing the playoffs since 2016. Their recent seasons were a far cry from Tama Catching's glory days. As the season went on, the Fever's improvement was evident, and games that would have been landslide defeats in prior years turned into thrilling wins, bringing TV fans who had long ago given up hope back to the seats to see the Caitlin Clark effect for themselves. Clark kept opponents on their toes by creating scoring opportunities for herself and her teammates. When the wind began to pile up, something amazing happened. The Indiana Fever, a team that had been an afterthought in playoff discussions for years, found themselves in the thick of the postseason race with every game. The Fever's transformation wasn't just happening on the court. Attendance numbers skyrocketed, with fans packing the arena to witness Clark's magic. Media attention reached levels the franchise hadn't seen in years. The impossible began to feel more and more achievable, but to me, the numbers bear it out. They've been on terrific tear since the All-Star break. It also looks like they're playing with joy. When the dust settled on the regular season, the Fever had done the unthinkable. A 2020 record might not seem earth-shattering, but for a team that won just 5 games 2 years ago, it was nothing short of miraculous. More importantly, it was enough to secure a playoff berth, ending their 7-year postseason drought. The impact of Clark's freshman season went far beyond the win column. She became the face of a new era in women's basketball, representing a shift in how young female athletes are perceived and celebrated in professional sports. For jersey sales skyrocketed, and her highlights dominated social media. To truly appreciate the Clark effect, consider this. In the 2023 season, the Fever averaged just over 4,000 fans per home game, with Clark leading the charge in 2024. That blew up to at least 1,770,000 per home game, and every time, the Indiana Fever were in-town opponents. Had to book bigger arenas to cater for fans. Fever weren't just winning games, they were winning back the hearts of basketball fans across Indiana and beyond. Clark's influence extended to the broader WNBA landscape. Television ratings for Fever games soared, and the league saw a surge in overall interest. Young girls across the country were picking up basketballs, dreaming of becoming the next Caitlin Clark. In addition to breaking 62 records in her first season, Caitlin Clark made a strong case for MVP with her league-leading assists and her game-changing triple-doubles. Though her influence extends beyond the stats, Clark changed the Indiana Fever from a floundering team to a postseason contender, redefining what is possible for a first-team player. Off the court, the Fever became one of the league's most dynamic offenses, thanks to her leadership on the floor, which inspired her teammates. The WNBA is now in the spotlight like never before, thanks to Clark's influence. His first season has not only set new records, but also transformed the entire women's basketball landscape, inspiring a new generation of players and fans. Best part is that we get to watch history unfold every day. Tell us in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss the latest news. Click the video on the screen, and we'll see you in the next one.